Hi, Kyle Kelly again, here with my blog at kylekelly401.wordpress.com. So I'm about to go to an interview here in the next hour and a half. So I just wanted to take a few minutes to talk about some interviewing tips that I always use when trying to land a job. So generally, a first interview is with a manager of some sort. If it's with a human resources person, the same rules pretty much apply. The only difference is you might not go so far into jargon, but we'll get into that in a minute. So when you're sitting down, it's always important to be 15 to 20 minutes early. If you're there a half hour, you're kind of lingering. So 15 to 20 minutes is always good. Things to bring: definitely bring a pen, definitely bring a resume. In a lot of cases today, your resume is already uploaded in the system, and they probably have already, the person you're interviewing with has probably already reviewed it and looked at it and kind of brushed up before meeting with you. But it's always a good idea to bring one or two just in case. So once you get there, check in with the receptionist, check in with the lobby, whatever, and just sit patiently. Now, a good thing to remember is the interview started before you even showed up. Okay, and I know that sounds weird, but I can tell a quick story. I was interviewing for a large firm here in town, and this was probably about, I don't know, maybe 2 months ago. And when I walked into the interview with the hiring manager, he made a comment about my vehicle. Now, fortunately for me, my vehicle was clean, which is a good idea, at least the exterior. They probably can't see the interior. My vehicle was clean. I didn't get into any fights in the parking lot on that occasion. But just keep that thought in mind. When you go into an interview, there's always someone watching. Okay, it might not be necessarily the person you're meeting with. It might be somebody else that just kind of passes you. So you always want to be respectful. A friend of mine tells me a story about how he was smoking a cigarette outside of the office, and a gentleman happened to pass him, and he didn't really acknowledge the gentleman. It turned out the guy was the vice president. It was actually the guy he was interviewing for a job, that guy's boss. So I don't know how that went for him, but definitely you want to keep those things in mind. So once you get in, it's important to be prepared. Preparation is the number one thing when it comes to interviewing. You want to wear a nice clean suit. You want to have a firm eye gaze. Don't break focus from the interviewer. Always keep your eyes forward and towards the interviewer. Another couple really good tips is if you have a couple of questions prepared, I go with 4 different types of questions. One is about the job, one is about the company, one is about the local office you'll be working if you are interviewing for that position in that office, and the fourth is questions that have to do with career pathing. Good companies always want to do succession planning. They always want to kind of move things forward with their top hires. And so if you're already thinking, hey, beyond this opportunity, what else is out there? It'll really show initiative and show that you care to promote, which in most medium to large size companies is a big priority. So have 4 questions prepared. The worst thing you can do is go through the process, have an exchange back and forth, and then they say, do you have any other questions for me? And that's your opportunity to try them out. And if you don't have anything prepared, the interviewer is going to think either one or two things. Either you don't care about the opportunity, or you're just not a person that thinks ahead or prepares for things. And in either of those two situations, regardless of what the person thinks, sometimes it's both, you really just don't come off looking strong. So try and have 4 good questions prepared. If you got 3, that's great too, but just definitely don't have 0 questions prepared. So the last thing to do, so you go through the interview, hopefully it's a balanced conversation about what the opportunity is. Hopefully as it goes on, you can keep your shoulders square, your attention focused, and it shows that your body language is more attuned. And what I try and do is especially if I'm particularly interested in the opportunity, is as it's going, I try and strengthen my body language as it's going, so I'm more and more focused and more intent. I'm focused at the beginning, but even more so as it wears on, and it shows the interviewer that you care. And that's at the bare root, if nothing else. Even if you walk away going, wow, I blew that interview, at least if the interviewer thinks that you care, they may consider you for this position or another one. So Those are the two things, that you really want to focus on. As it concludes and you get your questions asked, always ask for the next opportunity to sit down and meet. Be hounding them. It's okay to even be a little of a hard sell. What's the next, some examples would be, what's the next step? When can we meet again? I'm free next week. Should I meet with your administrative assistant and get on the books for another interview? You always want to be closing, much like sales. You just always want to be looking for the next step in the process because it shows that you got gumption and initiative. And those are two very important things. When the interview concludes, make sure you thank every single person you came into contact with if you see them. If you saw somebody in the lobby who was there and you made small chit chat while you were waiting, touch that person and say, hey, thank you very much for meeting here. If you met maybe you had a couple interviews and you swing by the office of one of the other former interviews, just pop your head in and say, hey, thanks, I love the opportunity again, and we'll be seeing you real soon. When it's all said and done, regardless of how well you think the interview went or how bad you think it went, you should send handwritten thank you cards immediately. What I always do is I'll bring the thank you cards with the address envelope and everything, and then I'll just write a quick little personal message that says something like, hey, I enjoyed our conversation about this opportunity, state the opportunity specifically, and then write something down that stuck out in your mind from that interaction, and then just throw it in the mail and forget about it. You don't need to check up on it. You don't need to email him or whatever. Make sure, or he or she, make sure they got it. Just do it immediately after you do it, so you don't forget about it. That's pretty much all I have.